If anybody gives me a hard time for uploading and or singing this, then I don't want to sing with you. And if you think I'm ignorant, maybe because we have different beliefs, well, that's on you. Maybe you haven't looked into it, maybe you have, but hey, we don't have to agree on everything. Let's do this. Something's going wrong in the neighborhood. Why do we see further than we should? All around us, people unaware, lied to and deceived without a care. There simply is no curve inside. You know we don't spend all day and night. It seems they want our minds flooded with lies. If you wanna bust the globe, I know these guys. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters! Who you gonna call when the horizon flattens out? Go ahead, call them up, see what that's about. We can go round in circles trying to find this out, but if we looking for the truth, about to find it out. NASA can't go to space, so we hit the roof. Get it, hit the roof, and it all came to light with 200 proofs. Now I'm just really sick of people lying to me, so when I tell the truth, don't come crying to me. Pick up the phone, get on the line with me. Line with me. Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Ghostbusters! I can't help myself. Ghostbusters! Yeah. That's right. Oh, man.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters. Happy Star Trails. I am your host, Bob Zatadude60, and I think I may have started talking a little bit too early. I might have gotten that first part muted out, but that's okay, because I'm still trying to get reused to the StreamYard software, which, kind of does some timing stuff for you. But anyway, we are here today on another Sunday, and I'm actually pleased because I didn't think that Jeran was going to be here today, and had planned for him not to be here, but that's great. I'm glad he is. And so we will proceed forward. So we have several things we're going to talk about today. Some things that, of course, NASA is up to, more shenanigans, as always, including some interesting new news about the ISS, which, it just gets more crazy every time we hear news about the ISS and what they're going to do. And, oh, gee, it's, just too expensive to keep it around and put it in a museum, so we have to destroy it and all this stuff. Absolutely nutty stuff. But we have that coming up. We also have some new stellar cartography telling us that, gee, you know what? The Big Bang was not the beginning of the universe. And so they are now backtracking on that. It's like, science seems to backtrack on every freaking thing that they say. And nobody thinks a thing of it, because most of the ballers will say, oh, that's what we're all about. We correct ourselves and stuff. The only problem is that even though that science has come out and announced that they were wrong, they will continue going forward acting just like nothing ever changed, like the Big Bang did happen, and that therefore Einstein's relativity was right and all that stuff. And most of this is to back up the idea that Einstein was right about everything, and Einstein was wrong about everything. He was. I mean, there are so many physicists out there that talk about what a complete idiot Einstein is, and he really was. I mean, he was brought in by the elite, and he was put in a position where any of the other physicists that went against him would basically, it's what they do with anybody else. You go against Einstein, you're going to be finished in the scientific type community. And of course, it was Einstein that was able to supposedly eliminate the mathematical ether, or eliminate the ether mathematically, right? Because of the fact that Michelson-Morley or Michelson-Gill couldn't find any rotation around the Earth, Michelson-Morley actually. And so they didn't know what to do about that. And this was verified several times, guys. And it was even verified in the 80s by the US Air Force. And the US Air Force said, guess what, guys? There is an ether. But to this day, do they tell you that there's an ether? Nope. They say it's absolutely still not there, regardless of their own finding by the military that it's there. So it's just absolutely crazy. So anyway, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff like that. And let me go ahead and introduce the panel now that everybody is here. First up, as always, is Jeran from Jeranism. How you doing today, Jeran?
Doing fantastic, Bob. Happy to be here. Sorry that we got our dates crossed, but I won't be here next 20th, March 20th.
Yeah, a whole month away, man. You really gave me some long advance notice.
I want to make sure that you have everything covered. We don't want any problems.
Okay. Sounds good. Hey, speaking of which, I also found, I'll show you this in a little bit. But remember I was talking about that one picture that had been all over the net about the vortex at the top of the Earth? Yeah, I actually found that. So I'll show that to you.
Sweet.
And yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'll show you that to you when we get into it. But I think, it's a really amazing picture because there were so many other stories, mythologies, and I don't even want to call them mythologies because I think they're absolutely real. There's photographic, there's Mercator's description of it. And, I was even watching this thing on Mercator where supposedly the Mercator was just telling tales, telling stories, and this is their way to communicate with each other. Something like it's absolutely insane, the excuses that they make up for it. But everything indicates that there is some sort of a very large hole at the North Pole. And there we have this footage of it. And I just find it interesting that even though it is there on all of these maps, Mercator's, and also the letter that Mercator wrote to Gerard, forget his last name. Gerard Mercator. Anyway, that's right. Anyway, there's a whole lot of evidence that backs it up. So I don't know. It's just crazy. So let's go ahead and go over to John TheMorgile and see what he's been up to. How you doing today, John?
Hey, Bob. Hey, Jared. Hey, guys. Doing well. Happy Sunday. Happy weekend to you.
Same to you, sir. Glad that you could make it with us today. So, all right.
Indeed.
And let's see. Who else do we have with us? We also have Hiro Landucci made it with us finally today. How you doing, Hiro?
Hello, Bob. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I forget the StreamYard call, not the Skype. So I was waiting for the ring of the Skype app, but that never appeared. So then I remember that the StreamYard directly access. I'm here in Argentina. I'm back. I'm glad to be back. Meet again with friends, family, that kind of stuff. And most important, we share some type of time zone. So for me, right now it's only 5 o'clock, and it's not like 10 p.m. in the night. So I hope I can finish the show and not leave it before my brain stop.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
no, in
good.
Switzerland it's a little hard, 1 a.m. in the morning, finish that type of at that time is a little hard. So
That's true. It's a lot later. So how long are you going to be in Argentina this time?
well, my return flight ticket or ticket flight, it's for 9th of June. So I don't know the conditions around the world, how it's going to be. So maybe I wait until that date, or maybe I need to get out from here early. So I don't know exactly, but in the short time or the bottom line, the official return ticket, it's 9th of June. So I have my time here to, it's the right time not to get used to again to my friends, family, and things like that. and at the same time, I'm the, you know, I can don't forget to return to Europe.
Yeah, there you go. So just
Yeah.
out of curiosity, what kind of tests did they make you take in order to get back into the country?
Photoshop test, in my case.
Photoshop.
Really?
What?
It's a joke. It's a joke because
Oh, I was
I
just
made
saying,
my
what?
own. Yeah, it's a photoshopped. No, well, maybe it's a little different because I am a citizen of Argentina, so they cannot stop me to enter in my own country, quote unquote own country. So in the check-in table in the Spain airport, they just asked me for my Argentinian passport. They asked me for vaccine, and I am start making. Oh no, yeah, I have it here, but I can't found it, and so I show just a PCR test in my app in my cell phone. Sorry, Photoshop PCR thing, and they allowed me to arrive entered into the plane. And then when I arrived in Argentina, there was no control, but no control because I have my Argentinian passport. That's the real thing. So it wasn't like a strict enter, like for example in 2020 and 2021 was a little more hard to enter, even beside that I am an Argentinian citizen. But right now was very flexible. Now the thing, at least something that I heard in the wait while I waiting in the check-in area, was like for some people from outside the Argentina, they ask or request for vaccination. So that was a little shock for me because I understand that Brazil, Ecuador, and other countries ask for a supposedly complete vaccination passport, but not Argentina, for strangers. I mean, right? And but in this case, Argentina is also joined to that type of rules, and that's very unfortunately for friends or people that want to came to Argentina and they don't have the passport. So
Yeah.
I hope there is not the same case when I need to return to Europe, because I am not a European citizen. I have a European passport, but not a citizenship. So I don't want to, start making other stuff, Photoshop stuff for entering into Europe.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. But who knows? Who knows what'll happen by then? But to me right now, it just seems like they've got us on this up and down thing. I mean, 1 minute we've got all this glorious victory going on, and the truckers are standing up, and the next minute the truckers being all shut down, and it's like it's such a roller coaster. It's really wearing on a lot of people, and the whole world is watching this, right? And the only thing I hope that the rest of the world gets out of this is, what are you going to do when they start doing it in your country? That's the question.
Yes.
So, well, let's just hope that everything continues to go well, and or gets better or something. I don't know. I'm glad I am where I am right now, because I as far as the United States goes, this is probably one of the better places to be. But that could change at any minute, as you guys know. So, well, we'll just see what happens. So, all right. So let's move on over to Mr. Zachary Zabala. Good times for all. How you doing today, Zach?
Hey, Bob. Hey, gentlemen. Pretty good. I'm kind of still out of it. I tried to. Last night was one of the moon transits, and I made it to about 2:30. Took my last picture at 2:28, and then I'm not as young as I used to be, it appears. I used to be able to pull all-nighters like they were nothing, and now it's like it just doesn't happen like it used to.
Yeah, that I stopped being able to do all-nighters in my late 40s. And of course, now I'm 61. It's like, forget about it, So,
but yeah, data collection's coming slow, but I kind of figured that, Mother Nature doesn't really care if you want to collect data on certain days or not. She's going to do what she wants. So we're getting some data, but it's coming in slow. So I'm looking at a long tedious process here, but
Yeah,
it'll be worth it in the end.
You did get some interesting photographs, and maybe let's see if I can bring these up really quick and share them with everybody. Hang on a second. Let me find this really quick. Where are you? Of course, I can't. Oh, there you are. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's some of the pictures that Zack took. And yeah, that should be, everybody should be seeing that. Okay, so you took these basically, to do the tests on your wobbly wagon wheeling type moon, right? That you were initially looking for, but then you converted over to Star Trek. So what exactly were you looking for here, Zack?
Well, this was years ago when I did these.
Okay.
The Star Trails. Yeah, those were old. We were just talking about the Star Trails this morning, and I had them, so I was like, yeah, it's a good time to bring those out. But yeah, no, these are from right around the Chicagoland area. You could see all the plane travel that we get around there.
Yeah, and and then what were the intervals on these?
2.5 hours long each.
Okay.
150 minutes. It's the longest that Nikon would run the Star Trails. I don't know about the P1000 if it runs longer now, but yeah, 2.5 hours was the longest I could get mine to go.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I was wondering about. I was looking at these, and I was also looking at Chris Van Maitre's, Star Trails, and I'm not so sure. It just seems to me that the length of these things isn't quite commensurate with a full 24-hour day. It might be close, I don't know, but it just seems to me like these are going for a lot longer than you would expect, right, out of these time-lapse photographers. And my point is that if the stars are going around us, above us at a faster rate, then obviously, it's not because we're taking pictures of them on a rotating Earth, right? But,
well, isn't obviously the dark lines, aren't those the actual path? That's all it went, and then the computer does the rest?
Yeah, it takes a picture every, I think it's for the 2.5 hour one, I think it's every 5 minutes it snaps a picture.
Right, but it shows here complete circles. Well, we would never see complete circles. So the program fills in the circle. We just take a little section of it, and then it fakes the rest, right?
No. Actually, you're talking about like up here around Polaris?
Or anywhere.
Well, no, what we're seeing is like this star line here is not the same as this star line here, which is not the same as this star line here, but they are all about the same length. But
okay, I got what you're saying. Okay.
The thing I don't see is how this represents 2.5 hours. And maybe there's 12 of these around here. I don't know. But, to me, that just seems too long for a 2.5 hour spread.
So you'd need to get about 10 of them, right, to make a 24-hour day.
Yeah, well, you need to go to one of the poles. Yeah, real high north or real high south or real low south where you get the 24-hour nights. I've never seen a time lapse of the Star Trails that was 24 hours. Never. And I looked. They may have done it in the last couple of years, but I know I scoured the internet a few years ago.
I think what Bob was saying, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel what he's saying too. That look at the left side of the screen. You've got that real bright long line. Well, if that's 2.5 hours, if it's 24 hours in a day, then you'd need about 10 of those. And so what Bob's saying is it looks like it's a little bit long, right? Because if you had like 10 of those, it would be more than a full 360-degree circle. You see what I'm saying? Is that what you meant, Bob? Yeah, that's what I thought.
That is exactly what I meant. And I may be wrong because, I mean, I can look at that and in some cases I can say, yeah, that almost looks like it fits. But, when I was looking at Chris Van Maitre's Star Trails, it just didn't look like that to me. And the thing that was really strange about it is when we looked at Chris Van Maitre's Star Trails and he was doing the moon in front of the stars, the moon and the Star Trails length were exactly the same length. Now, if the moon's only 225,000 miles away or 238,000 miles away, whatever, then how in the world is it making a trail the same length of something that's light years away? That doesn't make
And
any
the
sense at
moon
all.
is supposedly moving in the opposite direction, correct?
I don't know. Is the moon moving backwards?
Yeah,
that?
but the Earth's spin makes it appear to move east to west, but it's actually moving 2,000 miles an hour from west to east in its orbit, which is huge. So our spin that's at 1,000 miles an hour at that close radius overtakes it and just makes the moon appear to go east to west. Jeran, I'm pretty sure you taught me that. Am I correct here? Or am I?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
thought that isn't all in the heliocentric model, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that the spin of the Earth, the orbit of the Earth, and the orbit of the moon were all in the same direction, which is counterclockwise if you're looking above, like from above.
Correct.
Am I wrong? Maybe I am wrong.
I think you're right.
Spin of the Earth,
Okay.
yes, and then the moon goes that same direction, yes.
Yeah. And the orbit of the Earth allegedly is all anti-clockwise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I was just maybe I'm never too sure. I don't ever like say I'm 100% sure about anything, because when you do that, that's when you're usually wrong.
Yeah. See now, and this is what I was talking about with Chris Van Matres, right? If we look at this is the moon, and here's the moon traversing. It appears to be going, these appear to be identical in length to all the other star trails, right? And again, how is that possible if this is 230,000 miles away and these are, 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 light years away?
Quadrillion
Well,
miles away.
No, of course, in the heliocentric model, it has not sense. But maybe in our model, everything is projecting the atmosphere. So it's also why you don't have any parallax or things like that, because everything is projecting one giant screen.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense in the flat Earth model. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all in the heliocentric model. And that's kind of why I think that
Per the
stars
use,
are-
right? I mean, that's the normal.
Yeah.
I was just saying that the heliocentric model usually doesn't make sense. Like under scrutiny, I mean, sure, it works for tricking toddlers into believing it, but when you actually scrutinize it and take the time to be skeptical and analyze it, it just falls apart just all over the damn place. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, that's one of the things that I think is really interesting. And Chris is definitely onto something. And not only that, he was also looking at parallax of like local things as well. And, there's this huge difference in parallax between things here on the Earth and things in the sky. And obviously, well, that makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense that this star and the moon are precisely the same length. That's just crazy. And I know I've said that several times, but the more I watch this, the more impossible, if you think about it, the more impossible it is. So I just don't know. I'm just curious what the ballers would have to say about that. What is their
right? Because you would expect to see far more apparent parallax in the moon because it's closer. And then on top of that, it's also in motion. Yeah, you wouldn't expect them to have similar trajectories and lengths at all. And yet that's exactly what we get. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and especially since they say the Earth is moving, so your reference frame changes as well. So we should definitely see a difference.
Right. Well, that's true. But of course, the ballers are going to say, well, the moon's moving in the frame of reference with the Earth, so you can't really say that. But then, of course, the Earth is allegedly moving through space. But the distances that they claim the stars to be, you wouldn't notice too much parallax in those. But I totally agree with you, of course. It doesn't appear of what you would expect. And of course, when you grow up believing that the Earth's a ball and don't really question it, sure, it works. Like, you're not really worried about it. But then if you do take the time to question it as a ball Earth believer, are you really going to conclude, oh, the Earth must be flat, right? I mean, no, of course not. That's crazy. Nobody would believe you. So, yeah, it's perfect deception, isn't it?
Yeah. So we just had Austin join us. Austin down there at the Daytona 500. Hey, Austin, how you doing?
Good. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you. Yeah, I was watching you a little while ago, you and Kai down there. And I was thinking for some reason you were like covering the Pro Bowl, but that's like 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, a few weeks after. Like I heard that we had really bad audio issues, but oh well.
Yeah,
It's
your
very
audio.
low. Your mic is a little low, Austin.
Yeah, apparently.
exactly.
Because I have a like a lavalier mic that uh is supposed to pick up what other people say so they can hear the conversations, and I think that
Yeah, it's really bad. It's the audio level. It starts out low and then gets lower, almost like it's being noise suppressed or something.
You are not ready for the event if work in the ISS.
well, we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, so I don't know if you caught what we were talking about, but we were looking at these star trails, and this is Chris Van Maytre's footage, and I was just commenting that you've got the moon, the big wide streak in the front here, and the moon's line in the time lapse is precisely the same length as all the stars, and to me that's bizarre. That just simply cannot happen. If the moon is 224,000 miles away and the stars are light years away. So any comment on that?
Couldn't fully hear you. I'm sorry. Kai opened the door and there's like all you hear is race cars, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no problem. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties, so shit happens. All right. Well, we will move on then. And hopefully you can maybe get in on something or figure out what the issue is about what the.
Like, okay, what would we expect to see on a spinning ball Earth with the parameters that they claim? You would expect the moon's line to be a lot longer and on a different sort of trajectory than all the other stars, right? But that's not what we see.
And like
Not even
the
close.
plane in that case, for example.
Can we go back to one of the Polaris shots real quick, Bobo?
You betcha. Hang on just a second. Let me get back over here.
I was noticing something. And if you could zoom in on Polaris.
Can you zoom on Skype in this viewer?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
think I can zoom it. I can't. Well, let me zoom it. Control Shift doesn't work. The Control Roll doesn't work. Why? What were you looking for?
Well, I was just going to show how much it's actually moving. In just that 2.5 hours, the arc it makes, the circle, if you find the center, I mean, it's a nice size circle. And if that's just 1 degree, because they say it's what, like at 51 minutes, or I forget what it is, but it's like half a degree off dead center. So since 1980, when the Georgia Guidestones were laid, 81, that should have moved that much away from the center, away from it.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about like precession of the axis. Yeah, I mean I agree with you, man. Like that's one of the biggest problems with the ball Earth theory is that according to their own model, the axis of rotation should be wobbling through or precessing through essentially like a gyroscope 1 degree every 72 years. So over the course of about 26,000 years, it makes a full circuit. And that translates to 1 degree of precession every 72 years, which translates to a half a degree of precession every 36 years, or about a quarter of a degree over 18 years. And that's in terms that we could have observed over the course of our lifetime. We should have seen a quarter of a degree up to a half a degree of precession of Polaris. And yet we've seen 0 going all the way back in history to the time that they started documenting the constellations. Polaris has been exactly where it is, making teeny tiny circuits around the axis and never budging a smidgen, when in fact it should have precessed about 25 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. Since they discovered it, that was we're talking allegedly Hipparchus, these ancient Greek guys, right?
Yeah, supposedly between 12,000 years, our polar stars change, and supposedly the next one is gonna be Vega. But if you make the calculations, 12,000 years is you need to have some reference, because nobody expect that one day you wake up and we have a new stars. You need to see translation gradually.
Of course. And what they say is, in the next 4,000 years we'll have a new North Pole star, right? That's the shtick.
Yeah,
they say
the 3,000 years before.
Oh, right. And 4,000 years ago we had a different star. Right. Yeah. But then there's no indication that it ever has moved even a little bit. Like it's just one day going to move 10 degrees, right? No, of course not.
And the best one that gets me is when Ptolemy named it. He named it Stella Polaris, which actually translates from Latin to the pole star. So they assumed that it was going to move. He had like 900 years, like you said. What was his name? Hipparchus. He was like 800, 900 years before when Ptolemy was around. So he had all that time to, map out the stars. Why would he name any star the pole star if they knew that they moved? It just doesn't make any sense. The whole story is bupkis. And according to the story, Polaris wasn't the closest star to the pole. There were stars that are visible that would have been much closer. Like you said, it should have moved 25 degrees since he named it. So yeah, it's one of those stories that can't stand up to time.
What's so interesting about it, though, if you think about it, like Hipparchus and those guys, they were they basically discovering precession of the equinoxes, and they were looking at like the stars near the horizon on the equinoxes. So there's only one day a year, or maybe 2 days. I think it's just during the vernal equinox, so one day a year that they can observe this, and they're noticing these very, very minute changes in where these stars are rising on the equinox in relation to the sun. And yet the pole star Polaris should be the most obvious indicator of any sort of precession, because it's already perfectly aligned to the polar axis. And so any minute change in that would be obvious to the observer, whereas these stars, these equatorial stars that they are observing, are just very, like, they can only notice it once a year, and it takes 72 years to do 1 degree of precession, right, which is barely noticeable. And yet these guys like totally didn't notice that Polaris wasn't precessing. I think it's an insult to their intelligence, frankly. The heliocentric model is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is they can make claims like that about Polaris, meaning the pole star, and what they can even say, well, the next one will be called Polaris or whatever. But why would they name one star pole star and not all the other ones, as you went through, right? Not Sigma-Octantis, but what's the next one? Not Vega? The last one's Vega.
Yeah, Vega.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they rename that, or why wouldn't they do that? And not only that, why are we not seeing any reasonable amount of parallax, any amount of shift in Polaris itself? Since the Georgia Guidestone monuments were made, there hasn't been anything in the last 50 years or whatever since they were made, or going back to anybody that's even documented. It's always been the same thing. It's always been in precisely the same place, and it never ever changes. And so, and when we brought that up the one time, especially when Jeran was running through a Stellarium, it turned out that when he advanced 1,000 years ahead or 2,000 years ahead, it would always reset back to Polaris.
Yeah. No, and the fact, this is maybe my conclusion, but I expect that not only Polaris change in terms of the location, but also some other constellations or some other stars, not just one, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, and what the globe earthers will respond to these sorts of observations is, well, they have these astronomical distances involved. And so they say that, there's not going to be much parallax over these distances. But when you're talking about the Earth wobbling on its axis, precession, as they claim, you're not talking about parallax. You're talking about actual angular change. It'd be like, taking a sniper rifle and zooming in on a target that's 500 yards away, and then just bumping your elbow a smidgen is going to throw the whole trajectory off, right? Because you have that perfect alignment over a long distance. Same thing should apply to Polaris. And they claim that it's precessing constantly, and yet there is no evidence for it. And there should be astronomical evidence for that. It should be obvious, and yet there is none. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Hey, Bobo, I just dropped one more picture there at the very end, and I zoomed in on it. I just wanted people to see how much it Polaris actually, it's only a half a degree away, and you have to take what, 10 of those and make a circle with it. So that would be a nice little circle right there. So a half a degree in the sky is actually pretty big.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? Well, half a degree, 0.52 degrees, is the size of the sun and the moon.
Yeah, so Polaris is like circling the perfect, like it would be going right around the sun.
Wow,
So,
that's a lot bigger than I
yeah,
expected it to be.
Yeah, so in 40 years, we shouldn't see it through the Georgia Guidestones anymore. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we would see it now.
Half a degree is huge. That's a big amount of the sky. I never had any clue.
Yeah, that is odd. Anyway, well, I don't know, guys. Ballers, I'd love to hear what your take is on this. Other than, oh, you guys are just stupid. I can't believe you guys still believe this.
Well,
and that's all we ever hear from those guys.
You know, this was one of those things for me personally that I struggled with as a ball-tard, you know, just growing up believing in the earth being a ball. Like I was interested in astronomy and stuff, and I thought about this kind of thing, and I found that there were issues with it, but never in my wildest dreams would I have leapt to the conclusion that the earth must be flat, therefore. I mean, of course not. You know, we would never think to go there because it is so far outside of the parameters of possibility. You know, we're sort of trained to think that it's stupid, and it's, you know, it's literally an insult to one's intelligence to call them a flat earther. And yet, I mean, honestly, I struggled with that and a number of things with the heliocentric model, but it's just so far beyond the pale of what we would actually expect. You know, like what a crazy deception. And, you know, that's how they've hidden it for so long, is nobody thinks anybody would lie about such a ridiculous thing as the very ground that we walk upon, right? Yep. Crazy.
There we go. Oh, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. All right. Sorry, I was muted. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, you know, I'll be anxious to hear the responses from Globers, but I know what it'll be. I mean, you know, it gets so wearing down, and I'm sure you guys get this all the time. People come in and say, I can't believe you people still believe in flat earth. I believed in flat earth for 3 years, and then I turned 4. You know, all those stupid joke. And they actually think they're being clever. You know, they think that they really have it down, right? They really got a bead on everything. And it's just sickening. That's one of the hardest things about doing this job. And make no mistake, it is a job. And, you know, we all have to deal with it. So whatever. But there's so many things that we can, you know, come up with. So many things. Let me show you this. Jeran, this is Chris Van Matres. So this is what I was talking about last week. Let me go ahead and get up to the right spot. This guy's talking about, okay, so this is going around for quite some time, and basically what this is supposed to be is somebody that is taking a picture, an airplane that is taking a picture, gotten really close to this on the North Pole, and they're getting ready to drop skydivers down by this Arctic hole that's there, right? Now, it's interesting because what we're seeing here is almost identical to what, you know, Mercator wrote about. And it's, you know, it's a very interesting picture, and you don't really find one like this. And it shows, it looks like the sun is setting down in that hole. And of course, if you go down that hole into the vortex, then, you know, down into the earth, you would see the black sun, supposedly, that other, you know, cosmologies have talked about. And it's just very interesting. Now, one thing that Zack and Cami spotted, or actually I think Zack spotted it, was we're going to see some footage of them actually skydiving down and landing in the proximity of this hole. And what we see there are, looks like gigantic, like pyramids, are just like Joaquin and Boaz. You know, you're talking about Joaquin and Boaz being the
well, no, they'll say it, Bob. The next part we see is actually Antarctica. They're sky.
Oh, that's
dropping
right. It was
into.
Antarctica. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is the north right here, but what we're gonna see here in a minute will be the Antarctica part, and I don't know, man. It seems like film. It looks like it's old, kind of like this one, and I don't know. I've never seen any footage like it. I can't remember seeing it in any movie, but CGI is so good nowadays. It's just one of those things you have to just kind of say, hey, it answered a bunch of questions in my mind when I saw it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, Cami's gonna love this.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen pictures of several pyramids like down in Antarctica, but these, when they skydive down to it, these almost look like, well, you actually identified them as Joaquin and Boaz as this gateway type of thing. So let me actually, now what this guy is doing is he's telling a story about this guy, a pilot that he met on the plane that flew in the war that actually got very, very close to this, whatever it is, this hole that's going down there. And it's an interesting story. I'll put it in the show notes. Everybody can check it out. And then they jump to this part. And this is really super interesting. And I don't think, there's no sound on it other than a bunch of noise. But look at this, and as it goes down. And Zach, you might want to tell them where you think everything is there.
Yeah, I think they're going out towards what Cami would call, the magnetic points. See that structure? Look at that. Oh my goodness. That's from a helicopter right there.
Yeah, it's huge. Whatever it is, it's freaking huge.
And they never
Wait, what
go
what
up.
exactly are we looking at? Because it's so small on my screen, I'm having trouble identifying what exactly we're looking at here.
It looks like a huge black spire coming out of the ground. And then there's pyramids right there that it's showing.
Yeah, and magnetite is normally in a pyramid type form, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it grows naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at the size of that. If they're in a helicopter flying, however high they're flying.
Yeah, it's ginormous. Absolutely.
And if what Cami, and I believe is how this places work in the magnetic field, you would need two of these things, one on each side, creating that magnetic vortex in the center. That 0 point where everything's rushing into.
Yep. Now that looks like two pyramids to me. We're looking down on them. That is absolutely amazing. And that looks like the pyramid of Dashur on Mars. It's just super interesting.
Well, I was going to say the size ratio of the two looks like the size ratio of two of the pyramids at Giza. It's very similar, like the ratio of the sizes.
And when they back out, there's actually three of them, just like at Giza. See the one to the left there? You could barely see it.
Is there really three? Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. I wish this has better quality, but, it is what it is. And I've seen it several times.
That thing just looks enormous.
It's huge, whatever
massive.
It is. Pretty crazy stuff. So, Jeran, have you ever seen that before?
I haven't. It's hard to see what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, I can send it to you first generation. I mean, it's still only like 180p or something like that. It's really, really low.
Yeah, I see before, like 2 years ago, in fact, and it was a very common video in the alien community. They trying to link this with the entering into the hollow earth and things like that. And for me, this part especially, I doubt a little bit, but because of course I don't have anything to compare, but it's very, very similar to YouTube channel that I follow who makes this type of things, which is called the Hoax Faker. And he make a lot of things to.
So you think it might be fake?
Well, the problem is that we don't have any. If you like, I can share my screen and show the similar visual language and visual style of these type of things based on space and the ISS and the space shuttle being destroyed, and also with the missions to
Well, you know, when
to
I
ship
was first
Saturn.
looking
Yeah.
at this, hey, just real quick, Iru, at this very part too. The reason I asked that was because I kind of got the feeling that this was part of a movie, right? It almost looked too like cinematography, whatever
Yeah,
that
yeah,
word
yeah,
is. But
exactly.
I was
Yeah.
just,
That is
I tend to agree with you. That's what I was saying. Is I tend to agree
the
with you
visual
on that
code.
part.
Yeah. But I can show you what I mean,
Yeah.
because of course, at the end of the day, the important thing is not to fall,
Okay, you can share
100% in
you
things
can share
that.
your screen whenever you want, Hero.
Okay, let me just give me 1 second, because I didn't expect this, and I trying to find the but I remember I have it here, and I want to, because maybe I can share directly the link in the YouTube channel. So I am trying to find in my files
Well, and Iru, while you're
the
looking for
name.
that, what a better way to fake something is to just release it in real low resolution. That way it almost looks more real that way when it's in super low resolution, because you can't really inspect it in a high resolution and see the telltale sort of signatures of software manipulation or
Yeah,
whatever.
that is what I mean by saying the visual code, or because I am just translating from the Spanish language. But what I mean is, you have like some, when you are working in cinematography, you have the eye to say, okay, this is that style, this is that other style, this is not, is the language, the visual language, and this is matched perfectly with and style of doing this type of images, which is all digital but using real images, not doing it in 3D, or trying to fake completely from scratch, but instead you use real things and you put it in that way. You create the sensation to be real with a slow zoom in, or maybe a little bit shaky image, things like that. It's very common trying to do that type of things, and it matched perfectly with this thing that I want to show you guys. But give me 1 more second if
Okay,
you want to
I'll tell you what, Hero.
go through that.
Let me play the audio part of this. The guy talking
Yes,
about
I found it. Okay.
Okay, it's just only like 2 minutes of audio, and then you can play that. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let me know if you guys don't hear this. Yeah, get to it here.
Greetings. I was asked to put this video together for my good friend Rodney for his website. You will excuse me if I'm appear a bit nervous. This particular subject, I have not spoken to anyone on camera before, but I'll do the best I can from what I'm about to relay to you. Some years ago, I used to do a lot of flying stateside from coast to coast, and I used to always fly in the sit in the rear of the aircraft. As a security consultant, I can tell you that it is the safest place, part of the aircraft should it go down. But anyway, I would also try to look for pilots, and pilots that were also taking this flight. They were in uniform, easily recognizable, and were getting a free flight, to and from wherever. And they would also tend to sit in the rear of the aircraft. During one of these travels, I sat adjacent to one of these pilots, and he had a lot of stripes on his shoulder. So I assumed he, was kind of high up there. Anyway, he was a nice gentleman, polite, and at first, and I asked him, so have you ever taken any polar flights before? And he said, oh, sure. I flown numerous polar flights over the years. I used to work for SAS Airlines. as well as some others. And I've done it many times. And I then asked him, so when you fly these polar flights, do you fly directly over the North Pole? And he then all of a sudden got defensive on me. And he said, well, wait, what are you asking me these questions for? He's looking around to see who else was paying attention. And I said, it's a very interesting subject to me, and I'm just curious. He said, look, you cannot, when pilots fly northern polar flights, they cannot fly directly over the North Pole. There is no North Pole. You fly around the pole. Why do you fly around the pole? Because there's a big frickin' hole up there. You cannot fly over the hole. And he said, but from the way that you're asking me these questions, I assume you already have heard some things about this. And I said, absolutely. And so he told me that he's actually flown around this lip of this opening of this hole, this enormous hole in the north. And he said, if you tried to go further in towards this hole of this lip, over around the edge of this lip, then or into, all of your instrumentation would start to go haywire. And he said, so you just couldn't do it because it would be like flying an aircraft through outer space, as he put it. So he said, you fly around the poles.
Okay, so, you know, that's basically what we have on that. Now, I'm not saying that it's real. I'm not saying that it's not real. What I am saying is that it appears to be an older vintage, you know, back when they had real low resolution off of old VCRs. And it seems to go along with some of the things that Jeran Mercatus wrote. And also, if that picture is accurate at all, then he's describing this picture that is also depicted in many maps. So is it real? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there for you.
Hey, Bob.
Uh-huh.
A quick question. So was the video that we saw, like the low resolution, older video that we saw, in any way connected with what that guy was just talking about? Or are they two separate things just edited together?
Well, they're together, but that's what he's talking about, is that hole.
Uh-huh.
In other words, this part.
Okay, but was he the one that took the footage, or was he talking about that footage, or unrelated?
No, it was unrelated because he was saying that he talked to a pilot that was sitting next to him. You know, because a lot of the pilots 20, 30 years ago had seen a lot of military action in those areas, and some of them, you know, didn't have problems talking about it, and others, yeah,
but
they did.
he seemed very believable to me. I didn't have any reason to believe that he was lying, and I tend to. It makes a lot of sense what he was saying. So
right, and that's the only reason I put it out there, just to put it out there. And I'm not saying it's true, false, or otherwise. It's just there it is. Take it on face value or whatever. You know, it's just interesting because I think that a lot of people have heard talk about or have seen a lot of things that supports a lot of the stuff that, you know, alternative cosmologies have talked about what Jeran Mercatus talked about, you know, some of these so-called folk tales about what's going on at the North Pole, some of the movies that talk about this connection between the North Pole and the South Pole. You know, I tend to believe, I mean, just my gut feeling that a lot of those probably have a lot of merit to them. I don't know that for sure, obviously, because I have no proof. But, you know, all you can do is go by this preponderance of evidence and see what you think, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, there's certain things we can know. We do know that, you know, at the center of a magnetic field, it's kind of shaped like an hourglass. And there's that vortex, like a tornado, like two tornadoes, one spinning one way and one spinning the other way. And I mean, that's how magnets work. That's a magnetic field. We have one here on Earth. Yeah, it's almost
like that's what it has to be, is what he's describing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
this is just how physics work. We can take what we know about physics and then kind of apply it on a much larger scale. And yeah, I bet there is something very interesting going on at the North Pole. Whether
Right.
it looks like that, whether there's a hole, I don't know. But I bet there's some interesting stuff happening up there magnetically, without
Right.
a doubt.
And just like what Cami has found out, when you and Cami are doing the, the interactions of the two magnetic fields that are creating this quadrupole, we were never taught that in school. We're never taught jack crap about magnetics in school, except for sprinkle the little iron filings on top of a piece of paper, and here's your magnetic field lines. That is about as far as anybody ever took it with me. And I'm sure the same is probably true for you. And these days, they don't even address it at all. So all I'm doing is putting together what we know about it and, some of the stuff from the past that people have asserted about it. So there you have it. So Ira, you are sharing screen, sir? So
Yeah.
you can go ahead and do a presentation.
Yes, what I'm trying to say is that if you pay attention to these 3-4 videos they're going to show, you can detect immediately the visual language is the same. It's a little shaky things. It's mixing real videos, real quote unquote, because we know that this is just a painting in the NASA. But these type of things, when you start mixing real things that people have in their minds, and you start using old style footage, look at, it's the same type of quality. And this is a video that supposedly NASA has a secret mission arriving to low orbit on Mars. So
yeah, but I've never seen a NASA come out with anything like the sun setting down in a dark hole like that.
Yeah, of course, this is that's for sure. But this is made by a visual artist. This is just okay. So the basic idea is you take real films, not real events, because nobody went to the moon, but real films, and you start putting together. That is why you have like a cut between the supposedly hole in the North Pole and then the Antarctic military mission. You don't have a continuous feed that people going and jumping from the plane and open the parachutes and landing all in one sequence. So right now, supposedly, this is Mars. And of course, you're going to have, this type of window, which is very, very often to fake this type of, technique, because you put a real window, you make some scratches, you play with dirt, things like that in the window, and you use this, this is like the same type of camera angle that we see in the hollow earth thing. So you have this. Let me just skip forward. Well, supposedly this is Mars. The idea again of the windows, the one object outside to generate some parallax or some distraction. Then you have the zoom idea, which could be very aggressive or smoothly. You have this type of panning thing, and of course, this is supposedly when they approach more closely to Mars, and well, look, that is the snow. We have snow in Mars, we have water in Mars, and again, you have this idea that you are filming from inside of a plane or a spacecraft. In fact, when I saw the first time the video that you show, it was in an alien community. So they don't talk about being filming from a plane. They talk about being filming from space, and supposedly you see the helmet of some type of astronaut inside of a spacecraft. So for me, that video is fake because it's very easy and it's very common, and it's very often. I need more stuff to say, okay, that is a real footage of the North Pole or the center of our plane of existence, things like that. And on top of that, when you add, for example, if you want to make more believable, you add audio, real audio from real, talking things, so that gives more impressive or more believable, more true. Of course, everything is, in this case, is made by the faking hoaxer using Photoshop, CS4, After Effects 7. I mean, this is like 3D Studio 2010. That means that this is 2009 made by just a regular guy who make also things like this, for example, which is very nice. Like, oh, Russian reach Saturn orbit, and you have, so what are you trying to, or what do you need to at least understand is that if what is the difference between this and the ISS?
Iru, is this the same gentleman who did the 5 shuttles taking off all at the same time and then
that was
opening
awesome.
up their base?
No,
Yeah.
no, this is not the same guy. This is another guy doing the same type of stuff, but trying to make more believable, or well, this is his style, you know. But again, here you have the metal frame, trying to give the impression that you are inside of a spacecraft filming outside, and it's always the same tactic and the same visual language. So that is why I say that, for example, this is like I believe this is ISS, you know, that he takes a 3D model provided by NASA. He, you know, make a 3D rotation, and then he add this chromatic aberration and some of the, you know, atmosphere effects based on the heating atmosphere, and they present, okay, here I filmed the ISS with super high quality in the sky, and a lot of people use this to you know.
That was so obvious that was fake, though, to me, Eero, because it just doesn't have that kind of resolution. Even with the chromatic, you know, distortions and stuff like that, nobody has ever come up with resolutions like that.
Of course, but because you are a flat earther and you have involved trying to find this type of thing, but show this to a regular people, they're going to believe it immediately.
They are going to believe it, and they do. They do.
And they do, exactly. And then you have, for example, things like Apollo missions, you know, again, the window, and this is like something like...
Actually, I'm pretty sure I believe that's something like that.
So there you have it. This is just a you know, cardboard picture, you know, with alpha channel. I
just said I'm pretty sure I believed something like that because.
Oh, you just dropped out, John.
Yep.
Yeah, but supposedly this was to fake like an alien type of visitor. Of course, again, this is a guy who has a YouTube channel showing his work as an artist. He doesn't want to, you know, trick any people. Of course, a lot of community, especially in the alien community, I saw a lot of this video trying to present as real to their own community. You know, the same type of thing that the heliocentric community, you know, the global community does. This is, for example, like, oh, we have destroyed the space shuttle in space, and look at it's you know, everything in little pieces. Again, this is just, and again, sorry for how many times I say it again, but think that this is so easy to do, and if you put a little bit more budget, you're gonna have the type of movie that NASA use, which, like I mentioned sometimes in the past, it's not everything is not 3D because it's still difficult to create you know, realism with 3D, all 3D from scratch. You need to, you know, spend a lot of time, a lot of money. You need to hire people that really know how to do it. But if you have miniature models and you photograph those models, it's much easier to do these type of things. So this is more like NASA 80s and 90s, you know, video projects. Then you have, for example, here, this is the last one, Gemini mission, you know, like, okay, classified Gemini mission. Again, you have the metal frame, you have the window style, you have, you know, the dirty in the window, in the glass, and you have this type of movement, the little zoom in, zoom out. That is why, for me, that video that you show before, it's a little difficult to believe for me.
Yeah, and Eero, I totally get that. And honestly, you know, as flat earthers, we have to be extremely careful, you know, what we endorse, what we don't endorse anyway, because, you know, I mean, you know, people look at us, and even when it's something that is so blatantly obvious, like the Musk CGI takeoffs off of the barge and then landing back down on the barge, you know, there's a complete lack of depth to that. I mean, it is so phony, it's beyond belief. We can see it, right? And yeah, so and that's something I can say without a doubt, zero doubt in my mind, that's absolutely fake. Now, this picture that I was showing, I don't know if it's fake or not. I really don't. But you just gave us really good examples as to why it could be fake. And that's something that everybody really needs to keep in mind. And that's why, we're not putting this out there as fact to anybody. It simply is. It is what it is. This is what we found. Take it.
Well,
Be surprised.
it's
That
so.
doesn't mean that it's not real.
Can you hear me?
Having a whole,
Hang on,
magnetic
John.
thing going on in the center of the earth. Of course, this is not related to the actual thing. In fact, I like to think in terms of that if they create this parallel story about the hollow earth and trying to use the Almirant birth, stories and things like that, it's because they want to hide something. And then on top of that, we have real events like the Antarctic treat and things like that we don't have access to go there and things like that. So the phenomena is real. The magnetic center is real, that in my opinion. But then they feed with this distraction stuff, maybe to who knows.
Yep. Okay. All right, John, were you going to say something? Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead, John. Oh, now you just dropped. Okay, you're still back in there. Oh, it seems
What
like
a better way to debunk it in the public eye than to put out a fake video showing it, right? I mean, that's how the truth is often killed. Is right. Doesn't disprove the phenomenon if it is fake.
No, not at all.
But it's yeah.
So again, it is what it is. But that's really good information, Iru. And always, it's good to keep your doubts high. Don't automatically cast everything out, because there are some things, honestly, guys. And I know I'm different on this than other people, but for example, one thing I know that I'm a little bit different on, people look at things like look like demons, right? Old depictions of what demons are, right? And I look at those compared to what is supposedly modern day UFOs that have been photographed, which frankly, they look really, really real. And this even goes back 20 plus years. And you look at some of David Icke's stuff where he's talking about how these demons are basically able to shapeshift, and they do this kind of involuntarily sometimes. And there is a ton of footage out there. And so for me personally, I tend to think that these type of beings may very likely be out there. But do I believe that they're from,
unfortunately, you can't see the light.
Do I believe they're from other worlds? No, I don't believe they're from other worlds, but they could very likely be other type of species that are talked about in the Bible, or something like that. I simply cannot believe that mankind is the pinnacle of intelligence. God help us.
Well, and true. I would say perhaps they're coming from other worlds. I mean, certainly not other planets, right? I mean, we know there's no such thing as that, but I still reserve the possibility that there are other worlds on the plane, and maybe even, different layers of the plane for sure. But, I don't rule it out, man.
I don't either.
Here you have, for example, just for comparison, this is an official NASA stuff, and it's look at this. We don't have
bullshit.
This is I prefer the other one, of course, but this is an official challenge mission, the STS-8 1983, and now because you used your brain to detect that type of stuff, look at this. It's completely insane to someone to believe that. But again, the same visual language. We feed the public. We create this video with real images, quote unquote. This is in a free flight, type of technique for being floating with cables, etc., etc. So we use these short perspective angles, and we mix between real images and some fake images. And again, we make a camera pointing out from a window and stuff like that. Then we have the famous spinning satellite hanging on cables and blah, blah, blah. So again, it's the same tactic. That is why I want to show.
Hey, everyone's seen Jurassic Park, right? Jurassic Park.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, and so for the longest time, I thought how impressive the CGI was in that for a lot of the T-Rex scenes, but you come to find out that a lot of those T-Rex scenes they had like a dummy, like a scale, like
Yes.
2-size dummy of the T-Rex, right? For the close-ups, they didn't have to use CG for the close-ups. Yeah, exactly. So it does.
No, no,
it tricks your brain
and that is
into.
yeah. Look at this image. Look at this. This is completely fabricated in some
yes.
warehouse, if you want to see in that way. But for example, in the Jurassic Park was in 1994, and then the same company ILM used again miniatures in movies of, for example, the first Jedi, the number 4 in the Star Wars series, which I cannot remember the name of that episode, but they still use miniatures, and that was in 26, something like that. And in our days they keep using miniatures because, again, faking the light, it's not so easy. You're gonna spend a lot of money, resources, you need to pay a lot to very talented artists and things like that. So of course we reach a moment in time that we have a really powerful CGI. But well, this is not the case, so we can detect at least the progression, how they evolve with the technology. And that is why, for me, when we reach the point of metaverse and everything is gonna be like, no, don't look anymore on television, put your glasses. Well, that is not any point. That is the final point of return. After that, when people start using that type of devices, we don't have we are not going to be able to detect anymore the shenanigans.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So anyway, all right, well, thank you. You make an excellent point, and it is well taken. And again, the moral of the story is you can't always, judge the book by its cover, right? So there you have it. Let me go ahead and switch back over to, wherever I was here. Let's see. Boy, who's popping in and out here? That's Morgile's popping in and out. Okay. I don't know, you guys, John's having a problem dropping in and out on this thing. I don't know if it's his connection or
last
what.
week too. I don't know. And it's like he talks and then can't hear us.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think
whenever I go to mute, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, I think whenever I go to mute and unmute my mic, there's a bit of time where the internet's trying to catch up or something. I don't know.
Could be. Okay. All right. Well, let me get my screen share back up. Hang on just a second. Caught me sleeping there. Not sleeping, but let's go to Chrome tab. Oh, no. I'm going to do this. Okay.
It's a funny video. Hiro, have you ever watched I don't know how it's said, Luna Cold? The first Russian rover?
Not the Earth Russian rover, but if you have it, and that will be a pleasure to see.
The first rover on the moon.
Yeah, no, but the official one.
I don't think there is an official one because it's like the worst cartoon ever. I'm not sure if they tried to pass that off.
Yeah, no, it was a cartoon, but I mean the official, when they presented as something that, well, we're gonna say the name of the mission, I think, was called Moon 1, Moon 2, Moon 3, etc., right?
I don't know. I don't remember that. I just was watching some of the videos this week, and they are hilarious. I don't know how that could be the technology that they have in 65, and then 69 they're on the moon. There's no way.
No way. It's like a toilet with wheels. And,
yes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And they do practices with it, and they can barely lift it with a crane up to like the second level of building.
And everything. Yes, and it's frame by frame. It's the old style when they create Godzilla in the 30s. It's a stop motion thing. It's
funny.
Yep.
Go ahead, Bob.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to one of the next things that I have. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, and I don't know what to think about this, but to me it makes sense. and it's from futurism.com, which is supposedly reputable. However, I think anything that's mainstream is far from reputable. But it's titled, NASA reportedly plans to destroy the entire ISS instead of letting museums save chunks.
Fake, because it could not be fire on space.
Yeah, I know. It makes you interested. It makes you wonder, exactly how they're going to pull that off. They're going to say, well, it came down in the Pacific, nobody saw it.
Yes.
Or they may come up with some CGI, like a fake launch, and see something coming out of the sky, which we know they can do that.
Of course, it's left a long time. So it's gonna be when the agenda gets finished or started with full power, supposedly. But they could, at that time we can, like I mentioned before, we can be connected to the metaverse and look in 3D from all the angles, pay for special camera angles and things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, they're talking about, some people are saying, well, it should go into a museum. And then they're talking about, but it would cost too much money to recover these things and put them in a museum. And they also say that it's too hard to take it apart. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? The entire ISS was designed to be able to snap in and out modules for the different scientific experiments and all the different things that they wanted to do. And now they're saying once a module is put in, it's almost impossible to take it out. It's unbelievable.
If you ask me, I think it's pretty obvious what's happening is they have to announce this so that now people are getting used to the fact, okay, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. And then they're going to have an accident. There's going to be a huge accident with the ISS. Probably everybody on it will die, probably in the next 2-3 years. And then they can say space is too dangerous for people. We can only send robots. And then from there, we never have to send people in space anymore. And then they don't have to send somebody to the moon ever. It's like a perfect setup. And
genius.
And by saying it first that they are going to crash it, it won't be as big of a deal if they didn't say that and then something happened, people will be like, well, we need another one. What do we, so you kind of have to announce like, oh, we're done with this, and then have the accident happen. That's my prediction.
Yeah,
I agree. They're gonna try to get as much mileage as they can out of the ISS. I mean, they do still have a narrative to execute, right?
Yep, they still have children they need to indoctrinate.
Yeah, that's true. And it's sad, but they're already starting to kind of telegraph that, and that cartoon that DITRH put out, with the dogs, the animals, and all that weird stuff that was going on, saying they're going to destroy the ISS. They're kind of telegraphing that to us anyway. But, I don't honestly think that they could even make it go on another 3 to 4 years. But they're talking about they're going to bring it down in 2030. So that'd be in 8 years. So I would say that it's going to be probably half that at the outside, that they would, have something disastrous happen to it.
Wasn't it designed to like come down in 92 or something? Like, wasn't its expected shelf life originally like 1992 or like 2002 or something like that? What was it?
I don't know. I don't know what the original life was, but supposedly, this was going to be one of many, stepping stones to the stars. And because,
of course,
who was it? Von Braun, Werner von Braun said, look, we cannot feasibly launch from the Earth in any vehicle that will carry us out into the solar system. It would take a rocket the size of the Empire State Building. And this is Werner von Braun's own words, right before he launches Apollo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love your smoothness in the scroll down, man.
Hey, Bob, I shared my screen just to show you a new Lego set that's coming out. I want to take a look at that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. There you go. You are presenting.
It's the it comes with instructions and everything. You put it together. So it's great. I thought that was funny. Somebody just said
that's hilarious.
That's it. Timmy.
Yeah.
That's good. Need a good laugh on Sunday.
All right. So anyway, I think what they're going to do is, you're right. At some point, they're going to say, well, it's too dangerous to go out there. I totally agree with you on that, Jeran. And, then at that point, CGI, I mean, let's face it, CGI is already there.
Yeah.
If you guys remember the section I showed you on Star Trek Discovery, about these hollow walls that they're using. I mean, they're so freaking expensive. And of course, NASA will have their own if they don't already. They're so freaking expensive that, you know, the studios aren't even buying their own. They're leasing time on it because they're this literally multi-story by multi-story virtual CGI wall that they can project anything up on and put you right inside of it. And it is so realistic. I mean, if you guys have seen any of the Star Trek Picard or Star Trek Discovery series, oh my God, the graphics are just beyond belief fabulous. And you know what? That's exactly what they're going to start sending back to the people on Earth from these things, right? And you know, people are going to be eating it up big time. And then by that time, you know, I'm sure the elites are hoping that they are going to be, you know, they're going to be wanting to have, you know, humanity under control enough where they don't have to, you know, go on with this charade anymore, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's just unbelievable. But that's the way it is.
Do you think it'll be done on a live stream, like while they're talking to the news?
As far as when it comes down?
Yeah, well, when they have their catastrophe.
I don't know. It might be.
No, I don't know.
It might come in as a breaking news type of thing, but I doubt. I don't. In other words, are they going to kill the astronauts online? Supposedly, I doubt that.
Well, yeah, I remember the Challenger. They wheeled out the TV, and I watched that live in school. It was like a very traumatic thing when I was young. Yeah, that we all watched it.
Well, but remember that the ISS has emergency capsules, and maybe it's more dramatic and more generate more impact in the audience if they, you know, use a tactic to escape with all the risk in the middle and keep the audience in shock while they enter into the atmosphere and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
Well, and I'm sure that there'll be something in the works to replace the ISS, right? By the year 2050, they'll have plans for some other fake space Limobile.
No, the next thing they have to have is the Gateway, which is supposed to be going around the moon. And that's where they're supposedly going to launch to Mars from. That's their plans.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they need too. I mean, because, you know, and that's why they're also talking about the tether, right? Supposedly they're going to build this tether at the equator, at the space elevator, and it has to be done at the equator because that's when you're going to generate the most centrifugal force that will literally be made out of these carbon nanotubes, right? Supposedly that are so strong that they're able to handle the Earth's centrifugal force, you know, for this little bitty elevator that goes all the way up, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however many miles into space they want to go. And then from there, they, you know, then would send vehicles up and launch vehicles off of that, right? But, you know, again, that doesn't mean they're going to launch men from it because that's just going to be too dangerous for some reason.
Well, you know what happened to the space elevator plans, right? So they had a private company that was, you know, coming together with the R&D, like they developed that nanomaterial that was strong enough to construct the thing. And before they got the ultimate green light to do the space elevator, the whole weapons of mass destruction thing came about, and we went into war in the Middle East for, you know, 20 years or whatever. And so that ultimately, and that's coming from one of the guys that was the CEO or, you know, bigwig at the company that was supposed to build the thing, was that basically the U.S. government and NASA got focused on other things, you know, wartime stuff, and it completely shelved the space elevator. But I would submit that they shelved the space elevator because space doesn't exist, right? It says that they don't want to have a convenient access to a place that doesn't exist. Right. That would do well.
It would be pretty difficult to have something going, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles into space, you know, from some location on the equator, which you wouldn't be able to see from everywhere, right?
And then when, I mean,
right.
I don't really understand how that would work with the atmosphere being thick at the bottom, and because I guess. Go ahead.
They don't ever talk about that part of it.
Of course.
Obviously, there would be huge shearing stress shearing forces on this. And oops, there's Austin, and there's okay. There would be huge shearing forces that would be on that elevator, and it's just absurd to think that they would actually build something like that. And not only that, there is no centrifugal force from the Earth rotating to be able to hold that line taut going up into space, right? So without that, they wouldn't be able to get any more than maybe a mile high before it came crumbling down under its own weight.
Yeah, I would think so.
Big problem.
Where I always get confused is when they talk about the air moving along with us, if the spinning Earth is, I figure that everything's moving, being carried by the atmosphere, but that's not even really what it is. It's that stupid word I always forget, inertia, which I don't even think it doesn't mean
inertia. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had to come up with special things in elevators on these super tall buildings, like that one out in Dubai. Isn't there a lot of air and other things they have, pneumatics involved with that system? I know it's not just the cable, because the cables are too heavy, they're too long, and it's too much weight. So
it's
they
the
have
strongest
other
thing
things
we have, supposedly. The carbon nanotubes are supposed to be the strongest thing that we have, period.
Yeah, but under that weight, even in really tall skyscrapers, this has been a problem in elevators forever, is, the length of the cable that you need. Because the cable gets so heavy that, it overtakes.
Remember, it's the edge velocity also that causes things to get destroyed. So if the Earth is traveling 1,037.5 miles per hour at the equator, and this would have to be at the equator, and then you extend that equator line out 100 miles, then you have even an exponentially faster end of the elevator, and any weight you put up there is going to put some fantastic pressures, pull stresses on that cable, right? I mean, this is all bullshit. There's no way they'd ever be able to do this. But
right, that was the whole thing. The idea or the concept was that you could go up to a certain level and you could basically just be in orbit due to the alleged, the 1,037.5 mile an hour rotation at the equator translated out, like you said, an extra 100 miles, you would naturally be at orbital velocity. That's the whole point of the elevator. And so they couldn't build it because, frankly, it wouldn't work. You step off that thing and you just fall for 200 miles or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And we still never
have
figured out. We still have never been told exactly where does the atmosphere break off, from the rotation of the Earth. Where's that bifurcation point? Nobody knows. And it's funny because I was watching Wakey Wakey's video, Mark Knight, when he was interviewing the astrophysicist, and we had him on the show a couple years back or last year. And it's just so funny. She had no idea how any of that could even possibly work. Oh, I guess I'd have to find all that stuff out. She was completely clueless because she knew full well that it would never work. So, they're not fooling anybody because they're not filling everybody in the club as to, how this works. And the problem is they can't do that because here we have people that are fully capable of processing the math down, have supercomputers at their university's disposal to be able to do these calculations with. And if they were to ever run that stuff, they'd look at it and go, there ain't no way. Right. But we already know that. So it's just funny. It's just funny. They don't let everybody in on the information because, well, then they'd all have to explain it. And then they'd all have to find out that, this fantasy technology that they introduce and say is possible is simply not possible. Never has been. Nope.
Science fiction.
Yep. So, and just like same thing with this Forbes story, we actually covered, I think it was about 4 years ago, right when it first came out. It says right at the beginning, this article is more than 4 years old. Okay. I remember covering this, and we did this on the Globebusters. And at that point in time, they said that, wow, guess what? We found out that, the Big Bang never happened. It happened a totally different way. And this article completely explains it. And yet today we still have the universities teaching the Big Bang theory, right? Well, actually we have two main theories that are going forward. We have the Big Bang theory and we have the black hole theory of the universes, which they intermix, right? They are in stark contrast with each other, but they are completely intermixed at all points. Does that stop them? No, never has, never will. But it's just so funny that, even if they come out and say, oh, sorry, we were completely wrong, it works a completely different way.
Well, and Neil deGrasse Tyson tells us that it's true, science is true, whether or not we believe in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But also changes. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. But their own physicists don't pay attention to the nonsense that they spew. It's like, did somebody not get the memo here? Forbes is supposedly a reputable magazine. Supposedly they would have very good technical writers, but here we are 4 years, 5 years plus on from this article, and nothing has changed as far as what they are teaching, as far as, the universe coming into creation by a Big Bang. And,
as far as I can tell, the Big Bang Theory was put in place in order to discredit intelligent design, or discredit the concept of intelligent design. And it seems like this is just more of the same in that department, right? I mean, just more of the same in terms of trying to discredit intelligent design, right?
Yeah. Well, and see, the whole thing is like I said, they have to keep the Big Bang Theory type stuff alive, because without it, relativity crumbles, right? And if relativity crumbles, then the ether is real, right? Well, I got news for you. It's already been proven a million times that the ether is real. Right now, they're just calling it dark matter. They just renamed it. That's all they did, right? But they have to do everything they can possibly do to keep Einstein, sounding like he knew what he was talking about. The reality is Einstein was an idiot, point blank. He was a disinformationist that was put out there by the powers that be. And, anybody that goes against Einsteinian type of physics, or anybody that even writes papers that argues with it, is quickly put under scrutiny and, has their scientific credentials threatened, has, grants for research threatened, on and on and on and on and on. But, it just amazes me that we have this entire machine, the mainstream machine, that can speak out against itself, and it makes no difference at all.
You got to admit, Bob, the guy could design a nice blouse, though.
Yeah, he could even get a patent on it.
Well, and they say dark
only
matter and dark
patent.
energy as if they're two separate things, right? But it's just energy within the ether. It's just movement in the ether.
Exactly. It's just a different modality. Like Ken Wheeler says, water, ice, and steam are not different things. They're all the same thing. They're in different modalities. And I get that. That makes perfect sense to me. And that's exactly what's going on with the ether. And of course, science knew that 100+ years ago, but they had to go and change it all just to, mostly because of Michelson-Morley. I mean, let's face it. And, it's so funny because when I'm working on something, by the way, guys, that is really interesting. I started looking at ring laser gyroscopes and fiber optic gyroscopes, and looking at how fiber optic gyroscopes are basically contained like a ring laser gyroscope, except they are actually putting this light through several hundred feet of fiber optic cable. Well, if you look at that way, then what that tells us is that the fiber optic cable then gets its own reference frame, and it does not act in the same way as the ring laser gyroscope. And where I'm going with this, hopefully I will have ready to tell you guys next week, but it's pretty stunning. This is really kind of cool, but I'm not going to say anything about it now. But wow, the mainstream is in for another whopping.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? If you look at the magnetic field under a ferrocell, you'll see like the light that we see, what we call the magnetic field. And like you said, Ken Wheeler explains that, well, everything there is intrinsic. Like heads and tails of a coin aren't different. They're both like the same coinage. But so like if you look at the black part, that's what they call dark matter. And then the energy, which is what we see in the ferrocells, the magnetic field, they call that dark energy. And they act as if they're two totally different things. And then they're just undefinable, but it's pretty clearly just a medium with energy moving in it, just like a magnetic field under a ferrocell.
Yep, absolutely true. So And Morgile's trying to connect. Oh, he connected. Okay, cool. All right. All right. So I think, gosh, I didn't have a whole lot more than this. Jeran, did you have a couple things by any chance?
Not offhand. I did have just that loon cold thing. What is that? So I was looking. I was going to do like that's not a NASA comedy hour because it's not NASA, but I was going to do kind of a little hybrid one of those this week. You got anything?
Well, I was, enjoying my return to Argentina, and I have a few things, but it's more related with the Ukraine thing. It's more related with maybe geopolitics and not so much with flat Earth. That's the real thing. I can open and if you propose a topic, I can just open a folder and start digging in. But if not something special, I don't have anything.
You can talk about some of the other stuff if we went over to.
Yeah, actually, I do. Yeah, I do have. Well, I have one more thing we can probably share here really quick. And this is actually a video that Flat Earth Banjo came out with, and I have to agree with this. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not.
Yes, I have been seeing.
It's really good. It's 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and play it for everybody. But yeah, I think this deserves a little bit of discussion for sure. And so let me go ahead and give it a quick play here, and then we can talk about it. So let me know if you don't hear any audio. Here we go.
Hello guys, hope you're all doing fine today. This video is entirely based on a video that Eric Dubay recently did. It's called 20 Reasons Against Newtonianism, written by Ebenezer Bridge, with a book by Eric Dubay. So I'm going to play here the parts, but I have been both in Rio, in Brazil. Of course, I was born in Brazil. I do live in Japan now, but I have recently been to New Zealand, and I brought my compass with me, and they all point north. Whether you are in Rio, your compass will point towards the North Pole, the magnetic North Pole. Same thing when you are in New Zealand, your compass will point towards the magnetic North Pole. So how can this work on a ball? A compass cannot work on a ball earth, on a spinning ball earth. So let's go ahead and listen to this part of the Eric Dubay's video, and we will go from there.
5. Because we have no antipodes or colonials under our feet. If the Australians are facing the North Center, and the Europeans are doing the same, they stand face to face, not feet to feet, like flies on a ceiling, so foolishly supposed and taught.
A compass can only work on a flat, stationary Earth, just like this illustration demonstrates. When I was in New Zealand, my compass pointed towards the north, the magnetic North Pole. Same thing when I'm in Rio, my compass will point towards the magnetic North Pole. Compass don't work on a ball. For those who know a little bit about compasses, you need to hold them flat on a surface. You need to keep it flat, otherwise it won't work, as this expert here explains.
Today, we're going to go over the fundamentals of a compass, which include the basic parts, how to hold a compass, and the simple steps to follow when using your compass. Now, how to hold your compass. Remember, north is never up in the sky.
Remember, north is never up in the sky.
Remember,
north is never up in the sky.
So hold your compass nice and flat.
So hold your compass nice and flat.
So hold your compass nice and flat.
That will allow our needle to point towards north.
That will allow our needle to point towards north.
So this is the quote that Eric Dubay read, but I have made some adaptations here towards the video that we are talking about today. Because we have no antipodes or colonial feet, if the Brazilians are facing the North Center and the New Zealanders are doing the same, they stand face to face, not feet to feet. Adapted from Ebenezer Bridge's book, 20 Reasons Against Newtonianism.
If the Brazilians are facing the North Center and the New Zealanders are doing the same, they stand face to face, not feet to feet.
So we stand face to face to each other, whether you are in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Brazil. We all face each other because the layout of the Earth is flat. We do not live on a spinning ball where the compass could not work, especially if this Earth is rotating on its axis and then going around the sun, and your compass would point to where? To the stars. It doesn't make any sense. If you compare here on the curvature chart, you see that it's impossible for a compass to point towards the magnetic North Pole if you are in Brazil, New Zealand, Australia, or anywhere. If you're pointed towards this region, it's because you live on a flat plane, not on a spinning ball. Thanks, guys. That's all for today. Keep it flat. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay, so basically what he just told us here, and this is absolutely true, as we've seen in so many demonstrations and experiments where the compass has to be laid out flat so as to not drag the magnets down, not drag the hands of the compass down into the front of the compass or the back of the compass. And of course, we don't ever get an attraction at the South Pole. And in fact, the South Magnetic Pole is nowhere near Antarctica, right? So the whole idea of the Earth being a spherical magnet is complete and utter BS. Even if it was, you wouldn't be able to access that magnetic field unless you were pointing up or pointing at the magnetic field itself. Go ahead, John.
No, I don't see this as so much of a deal breaker for the ball as I do the sextant not working on a ball, because with triangulation using a sextant, you have to have that base of a 90-degree angle. So that's necessary.
They're both deal breakers, absolute deal breakers. Why? Because you have got to be on the same plane as that magnetic field. Remember what a magnetic field looks like, right? It's on a toroid.
Yeah.
And the compass needles will actually follow the lines of force. Well, supposedly on a ball magnet, right? On a baller type of magnet, you have the lines of force all converging at the North Pole. But as he has shown back here, where is it? Right? So you were standing here in New Zealand or over here, you're not going anywhere near that. You're pointing away from it because you are standing away. You're holding your compass level. You're nowhere near the magnetic North Pole, nor are you in alignment with any of the lines of force that would be coming in this toroidal fashion, right? And you're right, 100%. The sextant is also a ball killer, and this is the crazy thing, because the ballers don't want to admit that you have to have a 90-degree flat, plane to be able to calibrate off of to get your three angles, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny to hear them. They deny it, and yet they won't deny it, and yet they will deny it. They won't deny it. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. They literally have gotten to the point where they are saying yes and no at the exact same time, just like they have everything else. And if you have not heard this,
and the other thing too is we're giving them a lot of credit, because nowhere in reality, in nature, can you develop or point to a ball magnet that has bipolar setup like the ball Earth does. That's all very much in the realm of hypothetical, because there are no such magnets, right?
Exactly. And I suppose not only that, our magnetic North Pole is shifting, right? It's moving at the rate of, I don't know, a year, a mile or two a year, something like that, or whatever. It's not a lot, but the point is that it's moving, and the magnetic south is nowhere near Antarctica. And not only that, compasses do not work in Antarctica anyway. What do they tell you? They say, well, if you get a magnetic reading in Antarctica, then you can go as high as 175, 178 degrees for your declination, which means just turn around, right? That makes no sense. That makes no sense on any model at all. It's complete horse crap. And it's just so funny. This is how far we have taken these ballers. From first they were saying, well, in order to detect curvature, you have to have a geometric a geometric horizon, right? And now they're saying everything but that, right? They're saying you do need it, but you don't. But there isn't really any such thing as one thing. To listen to them deny this is crazy. And as much as I'm not a big fan of Nathan Oakley, if you guys ever listen to him and talk to these ballers and listen to the complete horse manure that they spew, he nails them on it dead to rights every single time. And it's a comedy show. It really is. But they have gotten that bad that they're saying yes and no at the same time. Yes and no to the horizon, right? The geometric horizon. They're saying, well, yeah, it's there, but you can't see it, right? And then now they're saying it's apparent. Well, welcome to flat Earth. Oh, yeah, but it is there. And now the whole thing with the sextant, right? Well, yeah, we're getting this off of a 90-degree because the ball, you're just taking it off the curved straight line that's the top of the ball, right? They say it's unbelievable, guys. It absolutely is. This is where they have gotten to. They're getting the crap knocked out of them on every level that they possibly can. And yet we keep coming out with these completely indefensible proofs of flat Earth, and they just get more and more outrageous in their claims. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, it's sad because to the general passerby, Joe Normie or whatever, Joe Sixpack, of course he's going to think the flat earthers are crazy, and of course the people on the other side of the argument are right. And so they don't even have to have very convincing or logical arguments. They just have to show up and put their pants on, right? Pretty much all they have to do, because Joe Normie is going to believe what he's always believed. He's not going to actually entertain the notion that the earth might actually be flat, right? Of course not. It's absurd.
Yeah, exactly. And
well, of course.
Yeah, and it's getting so old at this point that we need to come up with the ultimate grand compilation, I think, of what their story was and what their story is, with some of the most glaring examples of this. And I think there are some people that are already doing a good job of that, but it is just so funny. And of course, if what I am tracking down on the ring laser gyro versus the fiber optic gyro pans out, I'm going to absolutely destroy that one too, because something really profound occurred to me when I was studying ring laser and fiber optic gyros. Because it's funny, I just for one day
decided. Is that the one I sent you?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's actually what triggered it, Jeran, because there was something in there that I saw and I went, "Oh my God, how could I have missed that?" And so I'm following that up.
Good.
So this could be another ball killer. In fact, I'm pretty certain it will be. But I am working on it right now. I've already shared it with Zack, and Zack seems to think that I've got something with it also. But yeah, I don't want to share that with the world yet.
We do need to make the globe even deader, for sure. So good on you.
I know. And then, for you guys that make these great video productions, then let's just start putting them all together and, put some of this great material. I think part of it is the presentation. We need to get some of the best presentations out there. And, like somebody could take, some of the work that Jeran does and some of the work that I do. And I have unfortunately, I think I have a habit of getting a little bit too technical, and it takes me a while to get the technical side of things explained. But once everybody does finally kind of figure it out, I think that it can probably be whittled down and explained even a little bit easier. And so if we just start taking stuff like that, or something that Cami might say, and put that into the stuff and start putting in some really quality productions, and then maybe sending them to some university professors and see what happens, and really start putting the pressure on. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So okay, guys. Well, we've been on for nearly 2 hours. I don't know. Do you guys want to call it a show, or do you want to do something on Rockfin, or what do you think?
You have anything, or maybe take calls, or whatever you want to do, Bob?
We can take calls. I am more improvised guy. So like I have a ton of information here, but I need like some starting point or something that maybe guide me.
Like Bruce Lee said, be like water.
Well, no, not exactly that.
Right.
If you can be more specific, it's going to be better. But if you want to, we can start talking about water. Yeah, of course.
Okay, well, we could probably take some calls. I need to set up a tiny URL link for it.
For this show here, want me to do it?
Yeah, if you do it, that would be great. It's the same one you just joined on.
Gotcha.
And we could certainly do that and maybe take some calls because we haven't done that in a long time. So good idea. So let's go stop sharing on that.
Real quick, just to ask a favor, anybody out there that wants to or does take pictures of the moon, my email is in the description below. I'm just looking for people. All I need is time and date on there, and make sure your camera is level. Get a little bubble level, and make sure the bottom of your camera is perfectly level. And just take some pictures of the moon. I need some data, any data.
I'm so glad you mentioned something because I wanted to ask or put a request out there for it, and maybe even to Iru, all of our friends in the Southern Hemisphere. I'd really love to see some time-lapse video or some time-lapse images like the ones we saw in the first part of the show in the north from the south, like looking at Sigma Octantis, looking at the South Polar stars. I'm so interested to get those from sort of trustworthy sources that I know nothing's been doctored or faked, because there's just not enough of it out there, I don't think. And I really think this is important stuff.
And what's the globe's explanation for why the star trails are so much more like spaced out and less visible in the south?
I haven't even seen that. Less stars there, even though the entire sky should be white.
When you look at star trails in the north, like we're gonna take one at night, like they're crazy, they're everywhere. If you do a full 2.5 hours, but like the most you'll ever see in the south, it has like these huge gaps. It's like it's way less filled in. I've never been there, so I don't know.
I still got to look more into what Lindsay said last week.
Oh, he came up with some really good stuff too, talking about
the repeating stars. Though, I mean, if we could figure that out or actually prove that, it's
that's
huge.
Just
yeah,
huge.
Like he might come up missing big.
Yes,
and he's not the first one that's come up with that either.
Well, I've heard it before, but I didn't. A lot of people just tried it by flipping, but he made a good point when he said it would be spread out.
Yeah.
Indeed. Because I've.
Go ahead.
You know who else?
I was gonna say I've actually tried that. I could never get it to work, but since he suggested maybe doing some disproportionate scaling, then really all bets are off, and it's something that I want to revisit myself. I have looked into it, and I couldn't get anything to match up. And so I kind of gave up on it, but if there's something to it, it's just huge.
Yep. So another guy that worked on that showed this like a couple of years ago. He's down in Australia, I believe, or maybe it's New Zealand. I think it's Australia. Channel name is No Fanfare. He does a great channel, does a great job with a lot of his stuff. And he actually even built a model that modeled a lot of this stuff. So, hat tip to him for showing a lot of this stuff. And he actually pioneered this a couple of years ago. So, he was one of the first places that I ever heard about it from. And I think he's just right on the money. I think that's exactly what's going on. Is there some sort of reflection going on? That would really speak to a lot.
What do you guys think about what that guy was saying when it applies to how we were talking about the compass? And of course, like a compass has to be horizontal, like duh. But beyond that, like, how we do have discrepancies in the south trying to use a compass. Like, what did you guys think about how if you look at the magnetic field, basically it wouldn't let you go on a straight line if you used a compass. It would actually take you a longer route.
Right. You mean a circle?
Yeah, like the outer part of it, it's gonna basically start you on a circle. Exactly.
Well,
like the blade of the fan, if you're looking at the top down, like a oscillating fan or whatever, the fan blade is curved, right? And so that's north to south sort of perfect line would follow the magnetic field and make a curved line instead of a straight line, right?
Well, yeah, sort of. I can send a picture into the chat, but like if you look at a magnetic field under a ferrocell, like with a ring magnet, like the outer part of it, it has a bunch of little smaller circles, right? And so if you're because we follow magnetic declination, right? So like if you're using your compass and it's following magnetic declination and you're on the outer part of it, it would actually, if you're trying to go straight towards the north, it would take you a little looped. You would loop a little bit. You would arc a little bit along the outside part of that magnetic field. I think it's really easy once you visualize it. I'll see if I can find the picture, but that was really interesting to me because we do have discrepancies in the south, and no one's really exactly sure why. Like from my understanding, I mean, you know,
yep,
we do, right? We do have discrepancies in the south. Like even the flat earthers acknowledge that, right? Like we have, because they work only on a flat Earth for sure, and they work past the equator, and they shouldn't work the way they do on a globe. Of course, they couldn't work. But in addition to that, we do have like a rare phenomena or an odd phenomena with them in the south. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, I dropped a link in the chat, and I also am putting it into Rockfin and here, so you have it there. It's in the StreamYard chat.
GB Feb 20.
Yeah.
All right. Let me edit this into the thing.
And I will add it to the chat groups.
GB Feb 20. Save and show. Okay, there we go. So if you want to get in and actually give us a call, click on put that URL in your link, the tinyurl.com/GB Feb 20, and we will go ahead and take some questions about this. And if you have any comments on anything that we've covered today, also, we would be happy to hear it. And if you're just a troll, then just go away because I'll just drop you as soon as you start yapping.
Are we going to Rockfin though?
Oh yeah, we can go to Rockfin too. Let's go to Rockfin. Good idea.
You don't know who's going to call in, and
that's true. That's a good idea. So I won't take any calls quite yet. So let me end the broadcast on YouTube. Hang on just a second. Takes a while to do this. So guys, mods, can you paste in the Rockfin link into the chat? And guys, come on over to Rockfin and to hear the rest of the show. We'd love to have you over there. And let me get this so I can cancel it.
That one.
All right, so there's that. All right, guys, so on YouTube, we're ending it now. I hope to see you over on Rockfin. You guys take care. Be good to each other. We'll see you in a little while. Bye.
Later, YouTube.
Bye.
All right. All right, YouTube.